All right. Hey, everyone. This is Anthony O'Connor from AOPTA, the Property Tax Experts. I'm the founder and owner of a property tax appeal firm in California. And we really love our clients, and we want to make sure that our clients, number one, represented in property tax appeals in the state of California, but also oftentimes we notice things that clients could be doing with their property. And a lot of them is called just being a good fiduciary steward of your property and making sure that your assets are locked up and protected. And so today I've asked our special guest, Tim Yates, who is the founder of the 10 Group, which does a business as Legal Docs for Less. Tim specializes in estate planning and is here to educate you on setting up a revocable living trust. Tim, welcome.
Anthony, it's a pleasure to be here, my friend.
So, Tim, the short video aims, or this short video that we're putting together, aims to give my clients the information they need to make informed decisions on how to protect their homes, family, and assets. And to do all this, is it okay if I ask you some of the most common questions you get as an estate planning specialist?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. The first question, Tim, can you tell us a little bit about your business, Legal Docs for Less?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I'm not here to give any legal or tax advice, especially. I'm not an estate planning attorney, but I am a registered and bonded legal document assistant, and I have helped families create estate plans for many, many years now. And it's something I absolutely love to do. I'm also surrounded by some amazing attorneys, including my wife, Carrie, who's our firm's lead attorney, and she is amazing. And I'm just, again, I love what I do. I get to work around great people. And the main thing about our business model, Anthony, is this: it's all about providing outstanding services and at an affordable rate. And affordability is probably the most important component of this discussion.
Okay. Um, so like you mentioned that without a high price tag. So would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's funny. Anytime I talk to people, I think the first thing they just want to know is how much is this going to cost me?
Right.
They know they need it, and they may have already gotten some price quotes, but I want people to understand what they're looking at. Okay. So, the cost factor is one of the reasons why so many people don't get an estate plan done. They will inquire about it, they'll get some price quotes from firms, and then they'll say, you know what, I'll just wait. I'm healthy still, I'm young, I'll eventually get it done. And then they never get it done. And so that's something that people don't understand, that the cost is what usually stalls the process. And so, kind of just jumping ahead here in California, the average cost for a revocable living trust is about $2,500. But again, I have seen prices range all the way up in the seven, eight, $9,000 range, all the way down to $199, do it yourself kind of a thing, and everything in between.
Gotcha. So Tim, like I mean, you talked about the average cost, and so I mean that does sound pricey. And so with that being said, what do you usually charge? Because your company's called Legal Docs for Less.
We just wanted to take affordability out of the equation, and so we decided to ensure that people understand that yes, you need this, and two, I don't want them to have to hesitate on getting it done because of a price tag. So, traditionally for us, we try to keep our costs under $1,000 for all of our clients, and
Okay.
so that to me is something that we're very, very proud of. It just means we can help more people,
Right.
and that's really what this is all about.
One of the things we do as property tax appeal agents is we get people refunds back from the county. And so if they knew that your services, and maybe it's something that they could definitely take some of that refund on protecting their assets. So, but Tim, what's included in the in an estate plan? Like what is all inclusive in that?
Yeah, so basically the question I get to is, Tim, what kind of estate plans are there? We're just going to talk about two. There's revocable and irrevocable. To keep this simple for the video too, revocable living trust is what 99% of the population needs. And it's because it allows you to maintain control of your assets. You can make changes to it. It's exactly what you need. An irrevocable trust is really designed for somebody that is extreme wealth. and they are literally giving up control of their assets to an independent third party. So irrevocable trust is not something that we even touch, and it's something that again, I guess if you're in that kind of tax bracket, maybe congratulations, but with your private jets and yachts and all that good stuff. But all seriousness, a revocable living trust is what you need. And again, it includes the necessary documents. It includes your living trust, your pour over will, your power of attorney, healthcare directives, guardianship if you have children under the age of 18, your certification of trust, and also the transferring of your property into the trust via quitclaim deed. So it's something that people need to understand. These are the documents that you truly need, and we deliver that.
I know in property tax appeal, it depends on a change of ownership. It really depends on whether the trust is revocable or irrevocable. Could you just kind of give us the difference between the two?
Yeah, yeah. Again, so literally everybody that we know around us is going to need a revocable living trust, and that's the one again that allows you to maintain control of your assets. It doesn't have any effect on if you decide to buy or sell your property. It allows you to make changes while you're still alive, and those are things that are really important, because your life will continue to change. You may have a relationship change when you buy or sell real estate, as you know, Anthony. We want to make sure those are properly updated and reflective in your documents. And so, and again, if you ever want to change out beneficiaries or things like that, it's important to have that flexibility, and that's what a revocable living trust can deliver to you.
Right. In just so in the property tax appeal business, I think in over 2003, there was 165,000 transfers that happened in LA County. And of that, about just over 50,000 were related to changes, property changes and change of ownership. And so typically, what's an example of a change to a trust?
Well, so here's a couple good things to know for people to know. When you are transferring your property into a living trust here in California, it's exempt from documentary transfer tax. Your property taxes are not going to increase. So it's one of the exemption codes. So that's a very important thing for people to understand. And as you know, in your field, you'll see people making changes to their deeds on a regular basis, not realizing that the change that they're making might trigger a reassessment of their properties, the property taxes. So it's important for people to understand what triggers something and what doesn't. But transferring it into a revocable living trust does not trigger that. Thankfully, it's
Okay.
exempt. And
Okay.
so that's really again for important for people to understand. But again, the other changes we mentioned, again, the most common changes I see are a lot of times when people get their trust done by us, their children are minors, and then they'll turn 18 and become adults, and they'll want to put them into positions of authority within the documents itself, such as successor trustee, executor, things like that. But obviously, when people get married or people get divorced, those are significant changes that need to be reflective, as well as other things such as when you're looking at naming somebody in as a beneficiary, and maybe you have a falling out with that person, so you want to not have them named as a beneficiary. So those are other changes that can be made.
Right. Okay. So Tim, now that we've established who you are, what you do, the cost to get an estate plan and the different types of estate plans, the big question is, why do my clients need them? Because when we look at properties, we can see when a property's in a trust and when it's not in a trust. So obviously, if people have a trust, I know that they've done something a little bit extra to protect themselves. But why do my clients who do not have a trust, why do they need one?
It's really three simple things. Number one is to avoid probate. That is the number one reason why your assets are subject to probate in the state of California. So you want to make sure you have a living trust to protect those assets. Which then ties into number two, which is protecting, your loved ones. That is obviously, very, very important. You want your assets to seamlessly pass to your loved ones. And by having a revocable living trust in place, it allows that to happen. So again, number one is to avoid probate. And two, it's to, take care of your family and protect your assets. And that's as simple as that.
Okay. Hey, you mentioned probate. Can you just tell our listeners what exactly probate is?
Yeah, so probate is a court-ordered and supervised process of identifying and gathering the assets of a deceased person, and then paying out their debts, taxes, and liabilities, and then whatever is left over will eventually trickle down and to the beneficiaries. And it's something that is I've seen it firsthand, as you probably have too, Anthony. It's a very messy situation. It's extremely costly. It takes a lot of time. It could take months or years to go through. You're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars and deal with a lot of heartache. So you don't want to go through that process. And the good news is it's completely avoidable.
Right. It sounds to me like, not having a trust, it goes into probate, something bad. It doesn't sound like it's something anyone should go through. And,
Well,
and
if you mention lawyers and courts, it's not anybody. Nobody likes to hear that.
right, I understand. Reminds me just real quick, I had a client, potential client last year that reached out to me, and his mom died without a property or a trust, any type of will. He was living in it, still making the payments on the mortgage from his mother passed away. The house was in disrepair, and really he had no legal basis whatsoever on taking any action in the house that he's living in. And I was reminded, of your services on how it was so important. Then doing the whole probate process was going to be so expensive, very, very expensive. That really kept them from moving forward. So just a couple more questions. A client says that they are protected because they have a will. Is that the same as a trust?
That's a great question. Probably the number one question I get is, Tim, do I need a trust or do I need a will? And the answer is, if you're here in California, you need both. And so, again, just having a will won't protect your assets from probate. And so people need to understand it. It's super important because a lot of times people might be especially over the holidays, you're at a family member's house, you hear, oh, grandpa says, oh, I got a will, we're taking care of whatever. But a lot of people don't ask, well, grandpa, do you also have a living trust? Do you have a will and a trust? And people just need to understand that it's about being educated that you need
Right.
both. And that's why when we create a revocable living trust package, it includes all of that, because you just can't afford to live with just a will. It's not good enough here in California.
Right. So you mentioned California. So if my clients have an estate that was created, say, in Arizona or Nevada, but now live in California, does that still work for them?
Yeah, so estate planning is really a state specific thing. And
Okay.
so, what I do tell people is you should get an estate plan, even if you had an estate plan done in Arizona when you were living there. If you have moved now to California and you're a full-time resident of California, you should get an estate plan here in California as well. A lot
Okay.
of times I see people that will, again, they unfortunately don't do that process, and they just don't follow through with even putting the properties into the trust that they've created. So yeah, it's super important. If they are a resident of California, they need to get one done for California.
Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Tim. So, 'cause I like doing that. So why should my clients work with you to get their estate plans done if they don't have one in place already?
Great question. You know what I love? People have a lot of options now. It wasn't that long ago, Anthony, where people had to go to that fancy law office and spend, thousands and thousands of dollars for an estate plan. People have options now. They can go online and do it themselves. There's a lot of do-it-themselves websites, but I do caution people behind that. A lot of my business comes from people that originally started to go down that route only to ask for us to review their work. Did I check the boxes right? Did I fill out the right forms? It's one thing to go to IKEA and buy a desk and put it together yourself. If the desk falls apart, not a big deal. But if you're talking about protecting your family and your assets, you want to make sure it's done right. And so for us, we've kind of combined the best of both worlds. We are a family-run firm. As a matter of fact, my hope is my two daughters are going to go to law school and take over the family business one day.
Wow.
Um,
That's
helping more generations of families. But again, we are a firm that we all work from home. We aren't fancy and splashy. We don't spend money on marketing, advertising, Yelp reviews. We just take care of one client at a time. It
right.
allows us to do great work. It allows us to keep our costs really low so we can pass those savings on to our clients. And the reason why is if you work with me, I'm with you every step of the way. We're going to treat you like family and take good care of you.
That's fantastic. I'm gonna put you on the spot again. So if somebody has a trust already, Can they still
Yeah.
contact you to make changes?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
So it's that's super important, for people to know. Basically, it's called a restatement of trust,
Okay.
and that's something that we would be more than happy to assist them with.
Gotcha. Fantastic. So, um, I think you summed it up perfectly. And this is why I encourage all of my family, friends, clients, neighbors to work with you. Tim has got one of the top-notch reputations here in San Diego for helping the real estate community. We have a lot of real estate agents, brokers, lenders that are referred to Tim because of his thoroughness. And we appreciate everything that he does for us. So this has been a very wonderful and experience. And I encourage anyone who has viewed this video to contact me so I can put you in touch with Tim and his company. And Tim has a fantastic team to get started protecting your home and your family and your assets. And we thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Tim, for jumping on short notice today and sharing your well wishes and your good vibes with our clients. Thank you.
Anthony, I appreciate you, my friend. And again, I just can't thank you enough for the opportunity. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you, buddy.